Happy Thanksgiving to you and all of your loved ones. Welcome to this episode of Scott Fox After 9. After today, I'm taking a long weekend. I'm taking Monday off, which is Thanksgiving here in Canada, just so my American listeners don't wonder, what's up? What's going on here? Monday's a holiday here, so I am going to take the day, and I need it just to recoup. It's been a busy, busy week. But I want to point out a couple of things that are available here in Scott Fox After 9. All this week, I've been doing what I think is pretty good coverage on Canada-U.S. relations and the fight against speed enforcement cameras and a whole bunch of other topics. If you missed any of the episodes this week, feel free to go back and give them a listen. And today, I'm going to cover a number of topics, including some overlap between what I just mentioned and the DMs that have come in, because it's a listener DM Friday. I'm going to get to those in just a sec. Later on this month, I've got at least one really, really good guest lined up, and that's going to come out as a bonus episode of Scott Fox After 9. I'm trying to bring you, in this podcast, the best coverage, the stuff you are not seeing in the mainstream media, and stories that I think deserve a little bit more attention. And of course, on Fridays, I turn it over to you. So let's kick off today's listener DMs, and to do that, I'm going to bring in the great Anna Almeida. Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. A belated happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. The big 4-0. And yeah, you know what? This new decade is off to a great start.
You are not shy about telling people that you've turned 40, whereas I know some people look at that as, well, my life's almost over.
I have felt that at times. I've been saying I was 40 from the moment I turned 39. I don't know if it was just to try to ease the nerves of turning 40, but I'm 40. It's a gift to age, and Botox is great, and that is all fun.
How often do you get Botox? Because you don't have a wrinkle on you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I usually go every 5-6 months. So a good amount of time in between. And yeah, I still want movement in my face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, That's good. Some people seem to overdo it with the Botox.
Yeah. My friends would never let me. And I feel like you and I have a good friendship that if you saw my face looking a little crazy, you would be like, you need some feeling back in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important.
But hey, I'm glad you told me that, because I don't know that I would have just come out and said, hey, maybe ease up a little bit on the Botox. But if you're telling me it's okay to tell you, okay, then I will definitely do that.
Honestly, I'd rather be the person being told instead of the person being talked about behind my back.
That's a great point too.
So,
hey, you had your birthday yesterday.
I did.
You went out with some friends.
I did.
Good time.
It was such a lovely time. Everybody's so busy. My friends are all in that stage of they have young kids. It's harder for us to get together with all the kids' schedules and stuff. So to be able to actually get together on my actual birthday was just so nice, and sit and laugh and talk. We actually went to a restaurant, and the last time I'd been to this restaurant in Kitchener was for my prom.
Really? It's been that long, huh?
It'd been that long. So the waitress yesterday was 23. So she was one when we went there for prom, and now she's our waitress.
She was a year old.
A year old when we went to prom. And yeah, so it was just so strange. It was funny, and it was just great to get together, but it just shows how quickly time goes by.
How you feeling about the Jays on Sunday?
I'm feeling great, man.
American League Championship Series. It'll be the Jays versus either the Mariners or the Tigers. Do you care who?
I didn't care until you and I spoke about it, and then I was leaning now way more towards the Detroit Tigers, because I think it's so close. The rivalry will be so good, and it will be easily accessible to go to each game. You can cross the border so much easier than any other teams.
Yeah, for those who don't know the layout of Southern Ontario, there's Toronto, and then where we would cross into America to get to Detroit is Windsor. That's about a 3.5 hour drive. You can be from Toronto to Detroit. It's actually closer than Ottawa. So it's going to be a great rivalry series if it is Detroit. But if it's Seattle, that just means all the British Columbia Jays fans get to go to that game, and they always show up when the Jays play the Mariners.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I just feel like it would just be so much fun if it were closer to us, but I'm biased in that. Are you hoping the same? Are you hoping for Detroit too?
I'm kind of hoping for Detroit because I do think it'll be a good series, and I do know some Tigers fans, and I'm also hoping for that because of the time zones. Sunday's game is at 8 p.m. If we end up with an 8 p.m. game Seattle time, that's an 11 o'clock game here. And I don't think Major League Baseball is going to do that, but I also don't give Major League Baseball much credit for being a smart organization. So they're not even on the same level as the NFL. So either way, bring on whoever, go Jays go. It's a great vibe in Toronto right now, which is the area that we're coming to you from. Let's get to the listener DMs. I know you've got a number of them, and it seems to be on a pretty wide variety of topics.
Yes, very much, and some strong feelings, and I'm interested to hear your take on some of these. So we're going to start off with Sandy. Hey, Scott, I'm a day one listener of your pod. So I never miss an episode, and I have converted a lot of people to listen.
Thank you.
They have all thanked me because they did not realize how much information they were not getting from the mainstream media news.
Okay, pause right there. It is remarkable how often I get that comment from people. I listen to your podcast and I am amazed because I watched the news the night before and it was nothing like what I heard in your podcast the next day. That's what I set out to do. I want everybody to understand that when you're watching the news from the mainstream media, you're not getting the news. You're getting their opinion. You're getting their spin. You're getting the opinion of the presenter. You're not necessarily getting all the facts. That's why in this podcast, I give you long form interview clips. In this podcast, I play audio for you that they're not going to play on the news because it goes against their narrative. So that's one of the nicest compliments you can give me. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
And she went on to say you have opened their eyes as well, which is a huge compliment. She went on to ask this question. I live in Kelowna, BC, and I think we have the worst premier in the country. Is there anyone worse than EB? I would love to hear your thoughts on who Canada's best and worst premiers are.
Oh, what a great question.
Let's get her started that way.
Well, first off, I'm going to agree with you, Sandy. You do have the worst premier in David Eby. I don't understand what British Columbians are thinking. I mean, they've got viable alternatives with a clear plan to get BC where it should be, a great province. But it seems like people are so afraid of the devil they don't know that they'd rather put the actual devil in there running their province. And it makes no sense at all to me. If you're wondering, Eby, by far and away, worst premier in Canada. Although I realize my friends in Quebec would make a strong argument that Francois Legault is the worst premier. Ooh. I'm still giving my vote to Eby. Okay. Best premier, I think we've got an okay crop right now. If I had to pick one and I'm not being biased, I'm going to pick Danielle Smith in Alberta. I think that's a woman who is clearly looking out for Alberta and Alberta first. And I don't blame her for doing that at all. She was elected to do a job, and I think she has been extremely effective at doing that job. I also think, and I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on this, I think Doug Ford gets high marks. I think that Scott Moe in Saskatchewan gets good marks. I think by and large people like him there, and I think he is very aligned with Danielle Smith and Premier Ford for the most part. Who else is bad? Susan Holt there out in New Brunswick. Just a disaster. So, yeah, we've got some good and some bad. I'm going to go Danielle Smith is the best. Okay. Eby is the worst. And there's a few others that are pretty close to worst or first.
All right. That's great. I like that take.
Good way to start it off, Sandy. I like that.
So, Jackie, question. If Premier Ford takes Crown Royal off the shelf, even though they aren't leaving, would that not make the company think about possibly leaving just because of how they are being treated by Ford? Wouldn't make me want to stay. Also, to add on to that, isn't it our motto from Doug Ford supposed to be Ontario, open for business? What businesses are going to be open if he goes after all these companies? He's just helping the problem as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. When it comes to the Premier's criticism of Diageo brands and Crown Royal, I completely disagree with him on that. Yeah. I think his heart's in the right place, and I think he thinks he's doing the right things. He's not. And he probably has some opinion polling to show that it's popular to pour out the Crown and say we're going to rip all the Crown off the shelves. But that's just a theory right now. And I also think that the polls are a lagging indicator. I don't think they're accurate for public sentiment right now. So with all of that in mind, I think the Premier is off base. I think he's done nothing when it comes to the Crown Royal thing, but discourage people from wanting to set up here because God forbid you've ever got to pivot your business or introduce some efficiencies if that's how you're going to get treated. If Diageo picked up and moved out of Ontario, I wouldn't blame him. after the way that they've been treated here. They were closing a bottling plant, and businesses make decisions for business reasons all the time. I didn't hear any criticism of the auto plants that are shutting down or cutting entire shifts. I didn't hear criticism about the government itself laying off a ton of workers, or really any of the other ones. It seems like the premier targeted Diageo and Crown Royal for no apparent reason, unless it's personal between him and the owner or something like that. I don't think Doug did business in general any favors by targeting Crown the way he did. And it's not too late. I just hope that he comes to his senses and does the right thing. We're not pulling Crown Royal off the shelves. If we do, it's time to privatize the LCBO. When one guy is using language like, I'm going to use the leverage, I'm going to rip it off the shelves.
Yeah.
That shows that he thinks it's his own personal liquor store and not a Crown property that belongs to the people. So it's time. We've got to take the LCBO away from the government if they want to go down that path.
Okay. Oh, I guess time will tell. So Shane, dear Scott, I live in Florida and I've been listening to your podcast for a while. I think the tariff deal was decided long before Carney became PM. This feels like a PR move. I believe the worker retaining program is meant to push Canada's auto sector towards EVs while gas-powered manufacturing shifts back to the U.S. Steel and aluminum will get sorted out, and supply management is just a bargaining chip. I have other thoughts about the Keystone Pipeline mess and J.D. Vance's role in the tariff talks, but that veers into a conspiracy territory, which I don't usually follow. Just some food for thought, and I love the podcast.
Thank you for listening in Florida. That's great.
I love the dear Scott.
That one actually came in, I believe, by an email, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
So here's the thing on tariffs. He's suggesting that this is really all just for show.
Yeah.
And that this has been decided for a long time. And what he's suggesting is the deal is done. The tariff thing is just basically a ruse. Or we just got caught up in something that was really intended for the rest of the world. He's suggesting that America is going to take back their auto industry, but they would leave in Ontario or in Canada the EV building industry. Well, that makes a lot of sense because we signed a lot of deals not that long ago to build EV battery factories in Ontario. If that's what you're basing this on, I could see it. I could definitely see what you're saying makes sense. And I do believe that the Americans did always intend to take back the auto sector. It was really just a matter of the deal that we're going to work out and what we're going to get in exchange. And if not, we have to get real cutthroat and we have to allow GM and Ford and Stellantis and all these companies to operate tax-free completely in Ontario. We have to forgive them on every regulation under the sun and make it cheaper to set up in Ontario and pay the tariff to have a car sold in America than it would be to just move to America. That is an interesting theory. I like that. I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes a lot of sense. And no, I don't think we're going to have GM building GM cars in Ontario or Ford building Ford cars in Ontario for much longer. Trump's made up his mind. And we're not, nearest I can tell, making much progress in negotiating it. If supply management is on the table, Mark Carney is certainly not suggesting that. If it is, that could be a good bargaining chip. I don't know. But what you're saying makes sense. Ontario will build the EVs and the U.S. will build every other car.
Okay.
What does that do, though, for us? I mean, I don't think there's enough EV demand out there to meet the demand that every other vehicle comes with.
No.
Especially because people are kind of down on EVs right now. You know, I mean, I don't know that people are clamoring to get them. They want affordable, cheap cars. That's what they want. And everything is going up in price. So I don't see it personally.
I'm with you on that one. Dave, this speed camera situation tells you everything you need to know about how slimy our politicians are. Now that they're on the brink of losing their gravy train, they want to compromise, but we couldn't even as much as fight the tickets we got. Some compromise from them. Shameful.
Yeah, I mean, I've been real clear about the speed enforcement cameras for a while. I want them gone. And I am so damn proud that we've got a premier who's actually smart enough to recognize that the people don't want them either. There's two politicians who have made major policy changes based on public sentiment. One of them is Mark Carney. He canceled the carbon tax and said it was because it was divisive. And he was absolutely right. It was divisive. Doug Ford canceling these speed enforcement cameras, namely because they're divisive and because they're unfair. The fact that there are still politicians hanging on, hoping that there's going to be some deathbed reprieve for these cameras, you're absolutely right. It proves what slime they are. The most recent one that I heard, it was, what is her name? Jan Liggett is the mayor of Cambridge, where you live, Anna.
Yes.
Even after the premier said, the answer is no, we're getting rid of the cameras. She still wants the cameras to be installed in her city. She wants them. And she said, until there's an actual law on the books, we're going to go ahead and do it.
Oh, gosh.
And people have tried to tell her, this is stupid. You're going to put it, before you even get through the 90-day warning period, the law is going to be there. You're just wasting money. And she insists on wasting money. You know what I want to do, Anna? Just as an experiment, I think it would be fair for the people who listen to this podcast to hear which mayors want these speed enforcement cameras.
As you look for that, I just want to put this question in from Steve, because he writes, it's about the speed cameras. Hey, Scott, does Ford simply want to scrap the speed cameras, or is it actually happening? Bridge Street in Waterloo just went live.
Bridge Street in Waterloo, eh? There's some mayors that are just lunatics. You know, like, I don't know if they actually believe their own BS, but they're really, really, really going hard on the hyperbole. If you take them away, kids are going to die. It's absolute madness.
Yes.
It's preposterous and insulting that you would even say that. It's also really, really telling that you are that into trying to rip off your own citizens that you would go down that road and start putting out nonsense like that, which you should know is completely untrue. The reality of the cameras is they are a cash grab. Doug Ford is absolutely right. If those mayors truly did care about public safety, it's very, very simple. They would do exactly what the premier is telling them to do. Install speed calming measures.
And it's not like even when those cameras were installed that they would only be active while kids were in school during school hours. If they were going to go that route, there I could at least try to wrap my mind around it. However, with it being a 24-hour a day, doesn't matter what day of the week it is, holidays, whatever, you're getting nailed, and substantially too. That's where I have this issue. I'm not an idiot. I still drive safely, but if you're going to nail me for going 4 over in a 30 zone, I mean, that's ridiculous, and that's abuse of power.
That person also suggested, or the first one did, that the mayors want to compromise now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You've noticed the timing on that, and you're absolutely right. There was lots of opportunity to collaborate and compromise. You know, these mayors should have known that these cameras are unfair, they're punitive, they don't do anything to actually slow traffic down. They just send you a ticket in the mail 7 to 10 days later, and they're making bank off of these tickets. We already know that. Now the mayors are coming along. Well, we'll only put them in school zones. We'll only do it during school hours. We'll make sure that nobody gets more than 3 tickets in a week, or you won't get a ticket before the next one arrives. All of this nonsense. Like, now they want to do all that, but they weren't interested in compromising before. They had every opportunity to compromise, and they didn't want to do it. They wanted it their way, and anybody who disagreed with them, be damned. Well, here we are. Now the cameras are gone. Some people, I think, feel bad about that because they've been brainwashed by their politicians. And for some reason, this turned into a left versus right issue. Like the liberals want cameras and the conservatives don't. I don't buy that narrative. Yeah. I think that's completely untrue. I just think that everybody now has to accept we have a huge crop of far left extreme mayors in this country. And the mayors never declare their political affiliation. But if these people were running for parliament, we would see which party they represent. You should ask your mayor some serious questions, and that'll tell you exactly why your property taxes are going up in January.
Oh, in Cambridge. Oof.
Well, they're going up everywhere.
Yes, I'm just saying, because we were literally just talking about the Cambridge mayor.
and before they come out here and try and gaslight you again and say, well, if Doug hadn't taken away the speed cameras, your taxes wouldn't go up. You just keep in mind that they insisted that money doesn't go to general revenue. It only goes to speed calming measures. So don't buy that. When your property taxes go up, that's because of poor management, mainly by the mayors who are on this list. Can I read it?
Yes, please.
Mayor Cam Guthrie in Guelph. I knew that Cam realized cities got it wrong. Maybe he was hoping for a compromise, but I'm deeply disappointed to see that he is now again trying to keep these cameras, because I thought him and I had an understanding. We talked last week or 2 weeks ago. You can hear that podcast if you want. It seemed like he saw the other side and realized, oh, yeah, maybe these aren't what they say to be. Carolyn Parrish, City of Mississauga. Andrea Horvath, City of Hamilton. Dorothy McCabe, Waterloo. Elizabeth Roy, Whitby. David West, Richmond Hill. Matt Cisco, St. Catharines. Kevin Davis, Brantford. Jan Liggett, Cambridge. Sean Collier, Ajax. Lynn Dolan, Innisfil. Jamie McGarvey, Perry Sound. John Taylor, Newmarket. Warden Bonnie Clark, Peterborough County. Then we've got Darren Caniff from Chatham, Kent. Genevieve LaJoy from Castleman. Boy, some of these cities I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Christina Lowry, Mississippi Mills. Ann Lawler from Halton Hills. Lisa Post from Orangeville. And Dane Nielsen from Grey Highlands, along with Marianne Mead Ward in Burlington and Patrick Brown from Brampton. Those are the mayors that were begging the premier to keep the speed enforcement cameras. If I just listed off your mayor, please remember, next fall, we fire them all. They've all got to go because they're not listening to you. They don't make sense. They're bad at math. And they just have to go because they are fighting so hard to try and keep these cameras, which we all know are a cash grab, nothing to do with public safety.
That's a lot of names.
Not the least of which is Olivia Chow. That's only 21. There are hundreds of municipalities, only 21 mayors. And those 21, plus Marianne and Patrick, they got to go. You got to get rid of them. If you live in those cities, next fall, anybody but them.
Oh, gosh, some food for thought there. Thanks for that. Okay, we're going to move on to Chris. The House of Commons is a circus. What gets accomplished?
Yeah, that's a great question. Listen, the House of Commons is still good. We have a lot of use for the House of Commons. That's where our lawmakers get together and they decide on the best direction for the country or for, I think he's talking mainly federal. So best direction for the country. The problem is Justin Trudeau turned it into a circus. It used to be that when question period was on, you could get a good question from the leader of the opposition and a good, thoughtful response that actually answered the question. I'm looking back at Brian Mulroney, Jean Chrétien, even Paul Martin and Stephen Harper. They were good. They answered questions for the most part. I mean, they weren't going to give up classified info in the House or anything like that, but they at least made an attempt to answer the question and keep democracy rolling. It was Trudeau, Mr. Showbiz, that realized, this is on TV and this would create some great stuff for Instagram and Twitter. So Trudeau turned it into a circus. He's the one who just stopped answering questions and just said whatever he wanted to put out there into the media sphere. And the mainstream media ate it up. Nobody ever asked Trudeau, hey, how come when they ask you a question in the House of Commons, you never actually answer it? They never demanded accountability from him, and he got away with it. So it turned into a circus. And unfortunately, now that the precedent has been set, whoever the next prime minister is going to have to make a decision. Are we going to pivot back and make Parliament a meaningful place where debate gets done and we figure out the best course of action for the country? Or are we just going to keep trying to turn it into sound bites and social media clips? I think that if Pierre Poilievre is the next prime minister, he's got a chance to correct. I don't think he's going to, though. I think he's just going to do to the Liberals what the Liberals have been doing to them for the last 10 years. And unfortunately, that doesn't accomplish much for us, but you can't get mad at Poilievre for that. Trudeau did it for 10 years. Carney's still doing it, and none of the media calls him out on it.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's good. Okay, next one is from Grant. Tamara and Chris were sentenced.
Tamara Leach.
Thank you. Tamara and Chris were sentenced. And while they stayed too long in Ottawa, they sparked some hope. During a dark time, people from all walks of life came together, smiling, dancing, feeding the homeless, and sharing stories. It showed the heart of this country. They may have overstayed, but don't you also see the beauty in how Canadians united and proved our spirit still exists? I broke down in tears, realizing my Canada is still here.
The Freedom Convoy was a symbol of hope for a lot of people. That was a very, very tyrannical time in this country. We were being hit with stuff that was completely out of left field, that didn't make sense scientifically, and we were told we weren't even allowed to challenge the science. Now we know that when they were arresting people for having one too many people in their home on Thanksgiving, when they were going around forcefully taking people apart who were more than 6 feet or closer than 6 feet together. All of that was not based on science. None of it was. It was all stuff that Dr. Fauci made up. And these Freedom Convoy folks, they just had enough of their government not listening to them and trying to have gross overreach over our civil rights. So they went to Ottawa and they did provide hope. Absolutely. There were a lot of Canadians. Remember back to then, they were lined up on overpasses, waving flags, cheering that convoy on as it went to Ottawa. The only thing that I wish they'd done differently is leave. If they had gone up there for one weekend, maybe two, they would have been fine. They would have proved their point. They would have showed the government that the Canadian people are united and we don't like what you're doing here, Justin Trudeau. But they stayed so long that Trudeau did what he did best. He wedged people. He created a divide. If you think that these truckers are right, you're a right-wing conspiracy theorist, and he labeled everybody. He made it such an unpopular thing to support the Freedom Convoy. A lot of people got shamed into making fun of the Freedom Convoy and stuff like that, and I think that was wrong. The Freedom Convoy had every right to be there. I thank them for what they did. Again, my only regret is that they stayed too long. I do think the punishment was... Well, I don't want to say it was too harsh, but let me qualify that. I talked about this the other day after the sentence came down. A year of house arrest is probably not unreasonable for what happened there. It's probably not. The thing is, our justice system has slid so far in the wrong direction that you get Tamara and Chris there, house arrest for a year at least, and then you get gangbangers on the street who can literally shoot somebody and be out on bail later that day. They could rob a bank or whatever. And it seems like there's no real meaningful consequences to crime unless that crime happens to be one that embarrasses the government. Yeah. That's where you're going to do actual time. Or financial crimes, like white collar crimes. Those ones, because you're actually taking money out of the wealthy folks who control things in this country, that's another one where you'll do serious time. But if you just want to go out and be a shithead on the street, go for it. There's really no meaningful consequences, not at the moment. And it's a mixed message that we're sending. So given how we treat actual thugs and gangbangers, I think that the sentence that Tamara and Chris got was wildly inappropriate. But in normal times, under normal circumstances, that's probably the right sentence. A year of house arrest and then a year of probation.
Okay. Well, this one, Rob, he says, FYI, I'm just going to point this out there. You have mentioned appealing to left-leaning viewers, listeners, a few times now. You're essentially doing the same thing the CBC and CTV do. That's not why we listen to you. We listen for the truth, not slanted mainstream media type coverage. I get the reason, but it's not the reason you have grown the pod. Conservative listeners don't have a mainstream voice, so we have to flock to the independent sources to affirm we aren't crazy and the only ones thinking the same as we are. I still will be a daily listener, but hope you get back to your bread and butter of calling it as it is versus trying to appeal to all the political groups. That's for you from Rob.
I got a few messages like that the other day. I got to tell you, when I did that episode the other day, choosing to be optimistic about getting a potential... Are you okay?
Hi, it's just like I'm not used to that reading something like that because you're so loved.
No, I mean, people disagree with me all the time. Rob, thank you. When I did that episode the other day, choosing to still be optimistic about the future of how things are going to go with Canada and the USA, I want to explain where I'm coming from here. And I'm not apologizing. I regret anything I said. I'm not. Mm-hmm. We don't need to crap all over Mark Carney because he went down to Washington and came back and didn't have a deal. He's missed a number of deadlines, and it's fair game to point out some of those deadlines were his own, and he's missed them. No, he didn't get a deal done again. But all indications are that a deal is coming, and frankly, I don't see the point in getting all angry now that there's no deal if there's a deal coming on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, really, what difference does it make? What's going to matter is what's in the actual deal. There's a lot of indication he is going to completely sell out our auto sector. A lot of people think he's just going to let GM, Ford, and Stellantis go back to America. What will that mean for Canada? And what is he saving? I mean, apparently he'll get a better deal on steel and aluminum. I guess we're joining this Golden Dome thing. Maybe we're going to restart the Keystone XL pipeline. I really don't know what the eventual plan is, but that's how you judge the prime minister. That's how you judge whether or not it's worth keeping this guy around, based on the deal he does. I don't think it was even reasonable to expect last week or earlier this week, actually. Wow, time is flying. I don't think it was reasonable to expect him to come back after meeting with Trump in the afternoon, come back that night and say, here's our deal. I didn't expect that was going to happen anyway. If it drags on much longer, then we can really start asking serious questions about what the hell is going on here. But I would really rather they get a good deal than just take any deal for the sake of saying we did it after we met with Trump. There's a lot of people that are pointing out a lot of hypocritical things when it comes to the prime minister and how he misled Canadians when it came to the election versus how he's actually governing. In fact, I've got one of them. Can I play a clip here? I know it's a listener DM episode and I typically don't do clips in these, but I want to play just one. I think this one really puts into perspective the Mark Carney that campaigned and the Mark Carney that is governing. Listen to this.
Quote, Pierre Poilievre is very much in sync with President Trump. And someone who worships Donald Trump will kneel down before him, not stand up to him.
And if I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where I was going.
During the campaign, Mark Carney lied. He knew that wasn't true. We all knew what Pierre's plan was. His plan was, yeah, sure, we're going to try and get a deal done with the Americans. But assuming we don't, we've got to have a backup plan. And he was going to very, very quickly put that backup plan into place. Mark Carney completely mischaracterized that. He made it seem like Pierre, because he's on the right and Trump's on the right, is going to genuflect before Trump. He's going to sell Canada out to Trump. It's Carney that is genuflecting before Trump and sucking his and going to sell out Canada. Everything he said Pierre was going to do, it's reversed. It's Carney doing those things. And if this deal is as bad as I think it's going to be, then no, I'm not going to be nice. But I'm only going to not be nice when there's a reason to not be nice. For the most part, the prime minister didn't do anything wrong. He came back without a deal. Fine. Certainly, it's not even the first time in the last 2 months that he's come back without a deal. But if there's one coming and he is giving every indication there is, I'll judge him by the deal, not how long it took to get done. As long as it gets done in a reasonable amount of time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I like that answer. So, Ania, question. How are the Democrats stopping the Republicans from being open? From what I understand, the Republicans run all three branches of government. The Democrats don't have the votes to control what happens.
In America, the U.S. shutdown?
Yeah.
Okay. In the Senate, there's a higher threshold. It isn't just a simple majority rules. In the Senate, I believe they need 60 votes to pass this clean funding bill. So the Republicans, which is Trump's party, would need a few of the Democrats to vote with them. And right now, none of the Democrats are willing to do it because they want a lot of really far left stuff, including health care for people that aren't supposed to even be in the country. And that's a major sticking point. I don't know if they're going to get this thing resolved in short order, but the Democrats are going to have to decide how much they want to lose, how much this is worth to them. They are keeping the government closed, which means a lot of folks are not getting paid. America's bills are not getting paid. All of these things are adding up, and Trump's only going to deal with that for so long. I believe this is day 10 of the government shutdown. Trump is going to start canceling massive programs that the Democrats put in and are very, very expensive, and he's going to do it to save money. You're going to lose a lot of stuff, Democrats, if you don't get on side. There was an election. The American people handed Donald Trump a massive win, plus he handed them the House and the Senate. Not fully filibuster-proof Senate, but they handed him the Senate. If the Democrats don't want to at least send a couple people over to pass a clean funding bill, there's no pork in that anywhere. It's just the basics. We got to fund the government. If the Democrats won't support that, if they're going to insist on all these weird little pet projects being in it, you're not going to get anything done, and you're going to lose programs that you say are important to you. My advice to the Democrats is figure out a way to work with a duly elected president who is very, very popular, by the way. Despite what you hear on CNN, I think the president's approval rating's at like 55% right now. That's very, very high for any president in a country where they're basically split 50-50.
So Lisa says Peter Attia did a 1.5-hour podcast on Tylenol and pregnancy. A great critical analysis of the August 2025 review paper Trump mentioned. In short, the link between the acetaminophen, so uses and how much it uses, and autism is weak. So the strongest study showed that only 0.09% increased risk of over 10 years, which disappeared when comparing siblings, one exposed, one not, suggesting no cause link. A recent Japanese study of 220,000 children found the same evidence. Through causation can't be proven without randomized trials, which are ethical for pregnant women, which aren't ethical for pregnant women. So there's no findings, is what Lisa's trying to say, the connection between Tylenol and autism.
I don't care. You know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't care. There's two schools of thought on this. I've heard from no shortage of people that it is a very well-known thing that there could be a link between Tylenol use during pregnancy and autism afterwards. This Harvard study looked at a whole bunch of different things, and they found that, yes, there is a link. It's not a smoking gun. It's a link. But I'm also aware that there's a lot of people who don't accept that, and either they're popping tons and tons and tons of Tylenol while they're pregnant to try and prove Donald Trump wrong, or they're listening to this Peter Attia guy. I haven't heard that podcast, and I probably won't listen to it. It's not that I'm not interested. I just don't have an hour and a half to waste on that. So listen, let me leave it at this when it comes to acetaminophen. You've heard the warnings that there may be a link between Tylenol use during pregnancy and autism. Harvard signed off on the study. If you look around, like this listener here did, you can probably find some people to say, that's not true. That's not true. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Nobody is saying don't take Tylenol. If you want to take Tylenol just to spite Donald Trump, you go right ahead. I don't care what you do. Your body, you put whatever you want into it. But you've been warned. The warning is there. Again, it's backed by Harvard. I completely disagree with how they made the announcement. Donald Trump was the wrong guy to do it. I understand you don't like Donald Trump and you don't want to listen to anything that guy says. Okay, granted, good for you. Do whatever you want. But there's a lot of credible people that have suggested there is a link. Tylenol themselves doesn't advise you to use it when you're pregnant. Those are the facts. Do whatever you want. I'm not a scientist. I'm not peer reviewing anything. I've got way more important things to do. If you're pregnant and you're thinking, should I take a Tylenol? Make the best decision for you. If you're convinced that Donald Trump and Harvard and all these other people are wrong and there really is no link and it's perfectly safe, take all the Tylenol you want. Good luck. If you don't want to take it, well, then that's just one less risk factor that you have to factor in. If there's nothing to it and you deprived yourself of Tylenol for 9 months, well, that's what happened. You just deprived yourself of Tylenol for 9 months. What if there is a link? Then what are you going to do? Because the other way, you can't undo that one. Do whatever you want. It's up to you. I don't care anymore. I am so sick and tired of these things being politicized when it is about people's health. It is about your health and the health of your baby. And you want to play politics? It makes me sick. These women that were pounding down Tylenol that are obviously pregnant just to show Donald Trump that there's no link. I can't think of anything more irresponsible. If you truly believe there's no link, fine. Take Tylenol if you want. But downing half a bottle of Tylenol just to try and spite Donald Trump is one of the sickest things I can think of when you're pregnant. Just crazy to me.
Well, Alina, love your show. I'm catching up on the September 5th episode about the foreign worker program. I work at a wholesale greenhouse in Alberta that's relying on the program now for over 20 years. We couldn't operate without it. We would bring in 48 foreign workers each year, many returning for over a decade, plus 6 to 8 Canadians for seasonal roles, which have high turnover. Canadians start at $17 an hour, while foreigner workers earn $17.98 in 2025. We cover their flight home. They pay for their flight here through payroll. Happy to share more if you would like.
I don't really have a problem with the foreign worker program. If there's jobs that there are truly no other Canadian willing to do, then sure, bring somebody in to do it. It doesn't matter to me. What I do have a problem with is companies that are circumventing the process, and they're doing things like hiring a temporary foreign worker and they say no Canadian wanted to do the job. If you tell me you work in a greenhouse and you have like a dirty job and no Canadians want to do it, with our unemployment numbers, I don't believe that is necessarily true, but I'm also not in every part of the country. Maybe in certain industries, there are ones where nobody wants to do the job. If you got to bring in people to do it, fine. When Canadian Tire is applying for temporary foreign workers because they say nobody wants to work at Canadian Tire, get the hell out of here. When you tell me Tim Hortons can't find a single person in their community that wants to sling coffee and donuts, so they need a temporary foreign worker, you're lying. You are absolutely lying. Those people, I think they should be fined into oblivion. I think if you abuse the program, if you're caught abusing the program, you've put in your application and said, we couldn't find a single Canadian who wanted to work here in our mall. I think it should be a fine that starts in 7 figures. Like it starts at $1 million and it can go up from there depending on how severe it was. And that's the only way to send a message. Scrapping the program altogether, right now we've got a major problem with housing and jobs and so on and so forth. When we get back on a regular footing, if they bring this program back, I don't have a problem with it. We just have to make sure it's not abused. And I'm just as disappointed in the companies that are doing that. They're putting in these applications saying we need a temporary foreign worker to make burgers at A&W, that sort of nonsense. Yeah. Or to scoop ice cream at Baskin Robbins. That was one that I saw. We need temporary foreign workers for that. Okay, well, that's an obvious lie. Don't tell me you can't find a single Canadian willing to scoop ice cream for $17 an hour. You're lying to me.
I got a nephew waiting for a job.
I want to know who in Ottawa approved those. Who in Ottawa looked at an application from a Baskin Robbins in a big city in British Columbia and said there's not a single Canadian willing to work at Baskin Robbins? If you're the government official that approved that, I think you should be investigated by the RCMP. I think you're probably getting paid off, or you're that stupid and you're that bad at your job because it doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't. You should be fired and probably investigated, maybe even charged. If you approve that in Ottawa, saying that a Canadian Tire in Alberta couldn't find a single kid willing to work there. That's a lie. It's nonsense. Shame on the company for applying. Shame even more on the person who approved it.
Oh, it's true. So Chris now. Hey, Scott, I run a commercial insurance brokerage and wanted to share a real example of how government policies are directly affecting people's lives. Because of rising crime, insurance companies now require businesses to have alarms that automatically call police. Otherwise, they won't cover theft claims. Premiums are also going up. When I explain this to clients, they are shocked to realize how policy decisions are hitting them personally.
People aren't paying attention, by and large. It's remarkable how many people are probably just right ticked off that their insurance keeps going up. But it never stops to occur to them, or they never stop and have it occur to them that this is all because of government policy. We didn't have this problem 10 years ago. This is something that the Trudeau government brought into us. They brought it to our shores. The car theft issue, the bail reform issues, all of the crime issues. I mean, what he's saying here is it's not enough for a company to have an alarm now. If you don't have an alarm that actually contacts police when the alarm goes off, and that's frustrating too, because there's a lot of false alarms. The cops don't like it, and you got to pay money if it's a false alarm. If you don't have one of those, your insurance, you may not even be eligible for insurance. And if you are, it's going to be at an insane premium if you don't have one of those alarms. Yeah, that's a direct consequence of liberal policy. There's no other way to look at it. We did not have these problems 10 years ago, and we won't have these problems when this government is gone. These people wanted this. They did everything that's been done intentionally, eyes wide open, and here we are. We're paying directly because of government policy. And it's a shame. It really is. Because I don't think companies can afford it.
Oh, no. So it's a struggle for sure. Okay, Logan. Hey, Scott, silly question for today, possibly. Why do the politicians say here now or here whenever they are saying after a speech? It's been bugging me every time you play a clip and I hear it. So I'm so curious. Do you have an answer or a thought on that? Cheers, Scott and Anna. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. Logan.
Oh, thanks, Logan. Why do they say here after a good point?
Yeah, or here now.
That's something that has been going on for as long as I can remember. When you say here, the original version of that was hear him. And it was basically a means of agreeing with the statement that was just made. It kind of got shortened to here, but it still goes back. I've got to think it's at least hundreds of years. When you hear somebody say here, they're agreeing. Mm-hmm. By the way, that's HEAR, not HERE. Here.
Yeah.
Is in here that point. That's where that comes from. I don't have a problem with it. I think that some great points do get made in Parliament, and it's okay to agree with that person. I would like it, though, if politicians could say that on both sides. If a member of the opposition makes a great point, just because you're a member of government doesn't mean you don't have to celebrate the fact that one of your competitors just made a good point. Why not? We should all be working for the Canadian people, not working for the Liberal Party or the Conservative Party.
And finally here, we have Jarjan writes, hey, Scott, longtime listener from KW. First time DMer here. I wanted to say I am loving the pod. I tune in almost daily. So it was a real shame the way things ended last year. I was pretty disappointed when I first heard that the original pod was no more. It warmed my heart seeing you wish Dave a happy birthday the other day. I hope you all are still friends. I'm glad to see you landed on your feet and you have a great new co-host. You have a great new job with a fantastic co-host. And Anna, keep up the great work. So you have a big fan there.
Thank you. Dave and I are still friends, by the way. I have no problem admitting that. I don't talk to him nearly as much as I used to when we were in the same building every day, but we're still friends and we always will be. There's no bad blood there at all. I think the company that he works for are a bunch of I won't even say that yet. However, him and I are always friends, always going to be friends, and we always have been. Thank you for listening, though. I appreciate that very much. I do have a lot of listeners in the Waterloo region area, and I think that that's great. If you are one of my listeners in the Waterloo region area, please remember, next fall, we fire them all. And Jan Liggett has got to go, Cambridge. She has got to go because she's just taunting you. She does not care about public safety. I don't even think she understands how these cameras work, and you just can't have a mayor like that. Same with whoever's in Waterloo. Barry Verbanovic, I thought, was in favor of the cameras. If you read the letter that Premier Ford sent back to those 21 mayors saying, no, we're not keeping the cameras. He actually points out in that letter, Barry Verbanovic from Kitchener never even introduced them in the first place. That's because the cameras that are in Kitchener belong to the region of Waterloo, not to the city of Kitchener. Waterloo has got those cameras in, not Kitchener proper. So, Barry, I guess you're good. Jan, you got to go, and whoever that guy in Waterloo is, he's got to go too. Get rid of them all. Next fall.
I see those as a bumper sticker.
Next fall, fire them all?
Honestly, I do.
Well, you know, I've had people reach out and say, well, how do we get rid of them? How do we find a better candidate? And I mean, it's tough, absolutely, to find the right person that you want to vote for. But the biggest mistake you can make in municipal politics is voting for the name you know. Like, oh, that person is my mayor. I've heard of them, so I'll just vote for the person I've heard of. It takes 10 minutes to do just a little bit of research on who these people are. And if you're someone who wants to put your name forward, if you would like to come forward and say, you know what, I disagree with how Jan Liggett is running the city of Cambridge, and I would like to take over as mayor. In the new year, I'm going to have ready for anybody who wants to challenge a mayor who has these speed cameras. If you're thinking about running for city council or for mayor, I'm going to help you out, and I will have a very easy to understand platform that you can run on, and I will have some contacts so you can get the signs made and the instructions on how to put your name on the ballot and a rough budget of how much it's going to cost you to run for mayor. So start thinking about it now, because once the budgets for cities start coming out early in the new year, you're going to see how much your property taxes are going up. And again, that is just purely fiscal mismanagement by mayors in those cities. If you would like to challenge them, I will give you many of the tools you need to run against those incumbent mayors, those 21.
Gosh, you're such a great help. That's incredible.
Oh, believe me, I've got people helping me too put it together, but we're going to propose a very, very common sense, money saving agenda for the people who want to challenge these mayors who are digging in their heels against these cameras. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. The staff in those cities, once we get proper mayors elected, people that want to come forward, the staff is going to be moving to a 4-day work week. That's something I believe very much in. Mm-hmm. Property taxes will actually go down, not up. Wow. And it will be done with very, very few, some, but very few cuts to services.
Gosh, you'd be a really great candidate too.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, Anna. And you know what? I really had no interest in politics until I saw how incompetent my mayor is. You know, begging the premier to keep ripping off the public is a flex that I never, ever, ever thought I would see. But here we are. 21 mayors actually put their name on paper saying, I'm dying to keep ripping my citizens off. And I know they hate it, but I'm hoping they'll forget by next fall. I won't forget. I will not forget. And anybody who wants to challenge those mayors, again, I'll have a very, very simple platform for you to implement when you become mayor, and you'll be all good. And we're going to change some stuff around because property taxes should be going down, not up. The city is built. It's just maintenance at this point, unless they are going crazy, spending money on stupid stuff. Like electric buses when the gas buses still work perfectly fine. Like that's just one example. Don't worry, I'm going to help you out. It'll be in the new year. Once the property tax assessments come out, then I'm going to tell you how to get rid of your mayor.
What a great gift to give people on Thanksgiving.
Empowerment. It's empowerment. Anybody can do it. Anybody can run for mayor. Most of these people, you probably wouldn't even hire at your business because they're that incompetent. Oof. And you let them run a corporation, a city? Absolutely not. Many of these people have to go, and I will help anyone who wants to challenge them.
Oh, wow. This is so interesting.
Friends, have an amazing Thanksgiving weekend. I really do appreciate your time, and I want to thank you for listening. God bless you and your family. I'll be back here with you on Tuesday for a brand new episode, unless something earth-shattering happens over this weekend, in which case there might be an episode on Monday. Have a great one. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will leave you with the sounds of Pat James and the Whole Truth. Hey now. Oh.